Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sweet love, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
I'd like to welcome everybody this morning. I got a little sidetrack talking to people I hadn't seen in a while, so I apologize. I'd like to welcome everybody to the People's Church of Divine Prophecy today. Thank you for choosing to spend part of your holiday weekend here. I appreciate that greatly. A couple of housekeeping rules. Please silence your cell phones unless you're medical or law enforcement personnel. Restrooms are down the hall. Quick right, quick left. Cold drinks on the fridge, hot drinks on the table with donuts, hefty stuff at any time. We don't stand in the ceremony here. Just enjoy yourself and have a good time here. I'd like to have let me ask him my left hand. Let me have Lorraine start the service. I did something. He told somebody did something told me not to do have a point.
That may be news.
All right. Please stand for the invocation. Please stand for the first time. Dear Father God, we give thanks for this moment in time. May we feel the presence of those that have sacrificed all to allow us these freedoms that we commemorate this weekend. May we feel the trust and truth and honor that and carry that forward that has been made available to us. May we feel your guiding hand and your loving presence within all. Amen.
Let's do hymn number 6 in gold pages. Kumbaya. Come by here, Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya.
Church service, and they don't have a musician, and they play recorded music. And I strongly suggest that they find them a live musician to help, because the church is like a three-legged stool: the music, the message, and the congregation. You got to have all three. We have that here. The next portion is a thought from the pastor. thought for the day, something I've encountered in the week before, and try to put into a spiritual perspective from something I've learned and try to put it into practice in my life. I call it turning spiritual knowledge into spiritual wisdom, practicing what I've learned. And something that came to me this week, we're challenged almost every day, and I myself, weekly if not daily, say things I regret saying on occasion. So then you begin to wonder if you're on a true spiritual path when you do that. How can I say that kind of stuff and claim to be a spiritual being? And when that happens to me, I have to go back to my spiritualist belief. I have to read the principles, I have to read the effect that it has in my life and see where it puts it into perspective. And I guess what that says to me is, for a while there I kind of got off the track of rereading what it is that guides my life and started letting myself guide my life without any higher-minded intervention. And that's usually when I put myself into those positions of saying something I regret. Spirit's strong here today. But that, and I work as a practitioner. I counsel people. I do healing on people with terminal illnesses. I work with people all day long. And that kind of guys, at least on the weekends. So I have to have guidance in my life, and my statement to you about this is you have to have some text that you subscribe to that gives you a guidance of some sort, something to look forward to. And I'm not talking about, with spiritualist text, it doesn't have a thou shalt not. It gives suggestive guidelines for your life and allows you to embrace them where you understand them at. There's not a hard and fast explanation of it. It's a suggestive guidance for your life. And there's a number of spiritual texts out there. As a matter of fact, you can take any spiritual text if you approach it that way, as suggestive guidance in your life, and let the truth of it bear itself out in your life. When you read it, let it speak to you in the fashion that you feel it should speak to you, not the fashion somebody else tells you it should speak to you in. And that's something that really impacted me a lot this past week, because when I started reading the concepts and the explanation for those concepts, I began to put things into perspective. And I am allowed to be a human being occasionally without not feeling that I'm a spiritual being. And if I can ask myself the question if I'm a spiritual being, then I am one, because disreputable people and evil people can't even ask that question of themselves. So if you can ask that question, you're on the right track. You might not like the answer to how to embrace it more, but if you can ask the question, you're on the right track. Thank you for listening. We're going to have Ashhen share the service, because I'm going to be doing the lecture and the demonstration. So please welcome Ashhen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our service is comprised into three parts. First is the healing and the meditation. Second is the inspirational lecture. And third, demonstration of spiritual gifts. So we will start with the first portion of the service, which is healing. I would like to ask Lorraine. And the way this works, would you like to, Sarah? Okay. We have chairs reserved back there, and we have two healers assigned to do hands-on healing. If you would like to receive healing, you can just go there. During the service, when you hear this, the sound of this chime, that indicates the chair has become available. And I will be doing the guided meditation for those who would like to sit through the meditation. Just find a comfortable position to sit, where there is no tension on your physical body, feet straight on the floor, palms up in your lap. Take a few deep breaths, inhale and exhale. You can close your eyes if you wish. Breathe in and breathe out. With your exhale, just release and let go if there is any tension in your physical body, if you are experiencing any ache or pain. With your breath, exhale, just breathe it out. Allow your body to relax. Let go of the thoughts that are on your mind, any concerns you may have. Just breathe it out and let it go. Allow both your mind and your body to relax. With each inhale and exhale, feel your body relaxing more and more. And your mind becoming quiet. Just become aware of your breath. Feel the motion of your breath. Feel the flow of your breath while you breathe in and breathe out. Feel your breath flourishing. Just follow your breath. That is taking you deeper and deeper within yourself to a very peaceful and quiet presence. That feels calm and soothing. Connect to this peaceful presence. While you breathe, repeat to yourself quietly, I am at peace within and with my surroundings. With each inhale and exhale, I am at peace within and with my surroundings. peaceful sensations flowing along with your breath. Feel the quietness of your mind as you feel your breath flowing, flourishing, nurturing your entire body, your mind, your spirit. Finding that inner peace within that is still, indestructible. Feel the stillness of your spirit. Embrace it. Embrace this stillness. Regardless of what goes around in your life, focus on this stillness that is within, that is above all and everything. Feel your peaceful breath. Connecting with your heart. Your heart chakra in the center of your chest. While you breathe, feel your heart chakra opening, expanding and contracting with each breath. Feel your heart chakra expanding and opening to God's unconditional love and compassion. As you look deeper into your heart, to the core of your heart, you will see your essence, the presence of God within your heart. That is vital and permanent. Connect with this presence that is within your heart and feel God's unconditional love within your heart that is infinite, overlapping. See this love expanding out of your physical body. See this, feel this love energy embracing you, comforting you, and healing you. Like a warm blanket wrapping around you. Feel the warmth and the good sensations, the comfort. Feel this God's loving energy that is always within you and around you. Feel this love energy growing bigger and wider. Filling this entire room. See this loving energy extending out to the universe. Further up high to the higher dimensions. See this love energy that is flowing and flowing everywhere. See this love energy embracing Mother Earth and humanity around the world. As you feel the connection. Your connection with each person. Feel this love energy that is infinite, without boundaries. It is pure love that rises above judging, discriminating. Feel this love energy that is bonding everyone together, near and far, known and unknown. Feel the power of this energy. As you connect, feel that oneness consciousness, that we are all one. We all originated from the same divine source of oneness. We are one. For in the mind of God there is no separation, there is oneness. In the heart of God there is only love. Connect your heart with your mind and think with your heart. See with your heart and feel with your heart. There is one true power, the power of love. Unconditional love. It is a universal love. It is infinite, unlimited. Feel that love within you and around you. Wherever you are, just be the love that you are. your peaceful breath, bringing you back slowly. Become aware of your physical senses. Become aware of your heart, your hands, your feet. Come back to the here and now. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. It's time for the inspirational lecture. Oh, okay. Before we do that, okay, we need to ground ourselves, so Lori will ask us which hymn to.
Steve requested that we do number 1 in the white pages, Nearer My God to Thee. Nearer my God to Thee, nearer to Thee, even though it be a cross that raises me, still my soul shall be nearer my God to Thee, nearer my God to Thee, nearer to Thee. Oh, like the wanderer, the sun gone down, darkness be over me, my rest a stone. Yet in my dreams I be nearer my God to Thee, nearer my God to Thee, nearer to Thee. For if on joyful wing, leaving the sky, sun, moon, and stars forgot, upward I fly. Still all my soul shall be nearer my God to Thee, nearer my God to Thee, nearer to Thee.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our speaker today is our pastor, Reverend Steve Adkins. He is the pastor and founder of this church, the People's Church of Divine Prophecy, a spiritual worker for the past 30 years, bringing healing, hope, and enlightenment through a spiritualist faith to all who encounters. Reverend Steve is, like I said, he is the founder of this church. It's been almost 4 years now, and we are growing. So without saying further, please help me welcome Reverend Steve.
World of electronics. That's what we live in today. Thank you all for coming here today. I'd like to speak just a moment about Memorial Day. A lot of times people tend to get the wrong impression about it. They don't see the need to honor the people that have given all for our way of life. These people answered the call, all religions, all races, all ages, both sexes, and they gave all for that call. And they gave it in a sense of honor. They gave it in a sense of hope for the future of this country as well as our own personal future. So I think that today, even if you don't spend a lot of time with, you ought to just take a moment to feel those people, the sacrifice they made, that their families made, known and unknown to us, to allow us to be who we are and what we are here today. Whether you agree or disagree with what they did, their actions have allowed us the freedoms of what we do today. And I just ask you to honor it in the way that they gave it, for hope, for prosperity, and for freedom. Thomas Jefferson said, "He who sacrifices liberty for security and safety deserves not neither." So freedom is paramount to all of us. And the way we honor those freedoms is to practice it and not allow it to be taken from us at any time. That's the only way you can really promote freedom. I remember there was a guy that was a Jehovah's Witness on a corner, and he was talking us downtown Orlando, and he's banging the Bible and screaming and shouting and waving it around at everybody on. And he had a collection basket, and I threw a $20 bill, and he goes, "Oh, are you a Christian?" I said, "No, actually, I'm a spiritualist." And he looked shocked, and he says, "Well, why are you giving me money?" I said, "Because every time you practice your freedom, you ensure mine." So that's what we do, is we ensure each other's freedoms every time we insist on it and take advantage of it. I'd like to speak a little bit about the religion of spiritualism today. I guess you ought to ask yourself a question: is if you are a spiritual person and you're practicing spiritual values, do you truly have a firm direction in your life? And I would liken it unto being out in a park somewhere, not knowing the trails, and somebody saying, "Well, here's a map that highlights all of the interesting parts along the trail, and I think you should take this trail because I really like this or that about it," versus wandering around out there without any guidance, any knowing of where you're going. The map is the faith that you choose to believe in. All faiths are equal in the eyes of God. One is not upheld over the other. And spiritualism is no different. And the way that I came into spiritualism was about, I guess, first I was raised Roman Catholic, went to parochial school, almost became a priest actually at age 18. And my father, who had some good sense to him, said, "If you still want to be a priest at 20, we'll put you in the seminary." Well, by 20, that wasn't the case anymore. I'd gone full-blown hedonistic in my life and was enjoying all the fruits that it had to bear. And then after about 5 or 6 years of that, I began to embrace a yoga system, Kundalini yoga, that was taught by Buddhists and Sikhs, which is a very interesting combination of their philosophy. And after about 5 years of that, I went back to being a hedonist again for a few more years. And then I found myself embracing spiritualism. I was involved with a group trying to sober up and quit drinking. And their principles are based on spiritual principles. Their whole focus for staying sober is to have a spiritual awakening in your life. And they have a progressive set of steps that helps you to attain that spiritual awareness and that spiritual awakening. Their whole philosophy is if you don't have a spiritual awakening, you're not going to stay sober. So I worked some of the steps, and by sheer coincidence, I had a spiritual awakening that happened to me in a detox center that I was forcibly put into by my family, escorted there by all my brothers and cousins who were about 5 times my size, and made me stay there. And I had a spiritual awakening strictly by chance in there. And from that moment forward, my life was changed. And I found myself sitting in a spiritualist church in Casadega, Florida, and it almost sounded like a meeting from this group that helped me to get sober. It was based on spiritual principles. And as I investigated it, I found out that a guy by the name of Arthur Ford, who is one of the most recorded modern-day mediums of the spiritualist movement, was actually formative in helping that group begin. So it's no wonder that they're based on spiritual principles. And the religion of spiritualism came into being in the mid-1800s, and it has a pagan spiritualist background all the way for about 400 BC. And I'm not going to go into all that because it's evolved all that time to now and continues to evolve today. Spiritualists believe that spiritual principles evolve forward. They never stand still. And this is proven in the United Kingdom, where Emma Hardage Britten, who was one of the founding movers of spiritualism in the 1800s, all of her churches are closing now because they have held it inflexible to the word of what she said, without allowing people the right to interpret, without allowing any progression to it. And those churches are all closing now. So spiritualism is intended to evolve as you evolve. The principles that they have are suggested guidelines. They're not inflexible things that you read that somebody else enforces on you, and you can't be a spiritualist if you don't take their interpretation of it. It's a progressive spiritual development. I don't do good with systems, so it's a good thing I had this one. But I have to have some system, because if I keep jumping, what I did in the beginning was I jumped from religion to religion every time I hit a challenge within the faith. Most religious systems have a progression that moves you through spiritual awareness in some fashion, step by step. And as you hit those challenges, unless you embrace that faith, then you end up just moving sideways to another faith and never changing. That's what I did until I embraced this. And what the religion of spiritualism and its objectives are pretty much as it's stated here. Number one, we do not profess to our membership a specific idea of God. That is because we don't give a specific idea, because we allow the individual to form that personal relationship with God and be guided by it. God in that person is their first authority, not us as a religion or me as a spiritualist minister. They are the ones that guide their lives through their connection to God. We do teach that there is a single God, however great, however pervading through all life. There is a single idea of God, not multiple gods. And that we teach a system of co-development. That means that your beliefs and spiritual inspiration and observing things around you is how you progress spiritually. The second one is that there is no claim of exclusivity, therefore there is no doctrine of conversion. Spiritualists believe that all religions are true forms of spiritual progression to God. Ours is but only one way, not the way, to the Creator. As using this concept, we believe that as people become accepting of the principles that we espouse, they will be naturally drawn to us. We don't need to proselytize. We don't need to go out and convince people. We work with those that come to us seeking on a very general basis. Our religion is not a Savior God-based religion. We do believe in the Saviors that are stated in the Holy Text, that they really were people, that they really did the acts that they said they did. But rather than believe in the divinity of them, we draw to the humanity of them. We believe in their life example of who they were when they were here. Most of us that were raised in the United States were exposed to Christianity, so we're familiar with Jesus Christ. We're familiar with John the Baptist, all the prophets of the Old Text. So we believe truly that Jesus Christ was a real person, that he did the miraculous gifts that he is said to have done, but we don't embrace the idea of the only begotten Son of God leading us to salvation. That's because we believe that we all communicate directly with God without an intermediary. There's no need to have a medium, a savior, or any concept of that state. We have immediate access to that consciousness of God at any time that we choose to have that connection. There is no concept of heaven or hell in our theology. Part of the action of spiritualism is our concept of personal responsibility. We are responsible for our acts every time we do them, no matter why we choose to do them. And there was an interesting thing on TV that I saw. It was a Marvel character called Daredevil, and he's this guy that is a guy who goes around at night righting wrongs and defending people against criminals. And he got really frustrated because this one master criminal was killing people, and he could not stop him because he was so insulated by his money and the power that he had with the police. So he was telling a Catholic priest in confession that he was considering killing somebody for the first time in his life. And the Catholic priest simply said to him, he said, you know, there has been, for centuries, men have justified their evil deeds by the evil deeds of another. And he says the problem with righteous and good people committing evil deeds is it's much worse than an evil person committing evil deeds, because the good and righteous people have people that put their trust in them. They have people that put their faith in them. And when they go wrong, it questions that person's belief in the good of what they believe in. So we have to believe in personal responsibility. There is no time that we are relieved of our right to be our requirement to be a spiritual being to those around us. You can't justify it by their actions. You can't justify it because of this or because of that. You are directed to be a spiritual being at all times. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that you have to get down on your knees and take a beating because you don't want to defend yourself. Emma Hardage Britton, who I spoke earlier, has a principle that says that we must never harm another living thing except for sustenance or self-defense. So we have that right to defend ourselves. We have that right to assert our personal freedom and our right to exist by those principles. The primary view of good against evil, now spiritualism don't say that there isn't evil, but we do say that there is the primary focus of evil versus good is our human nature versus our spiritual nature. Our nature of being in this flesh, being in this environment, constantly struggling with the instincts versus the spiritual principles and the spiritual being that we are. Why do you think it takes so much effort to remember spiritual things? Because the human side of you is what reacts first. The human side of you is what generally comes out when we're frightened or something sudden happens to us. And that's because we have an instinct of survival. But we have to remember again that we're responsible for that act regardless of why it happens. But we can still be a spiritual being during this whole process. Evil is pretty much a human decision based on not being connected to your higher consciousness of God. Our principles and guidelines are open to interpretation as people are able to put them in their lives. And I've spoken on this before. Everything is growing, everything is evolving. Natural law applies to all of creation. The hardest thing about applying spiritual principles is that human principles tend to have a faster effect. If you become frightened or afraid of a certain situation, it's much easier to pull out a gun or do something violent than it is to walk away and secure yourself at a distance. Spiritual principles say don't harm anyone unless it's necessary for self-defense. If you get mad at somebody, that's not a justification for doing harm to them. You have to embrace the spiritual principles. You can't take an immediate action. You have to take time unless you're defending your life. The growth of this is that the law, you have to realize that spiritual principles take a longer time to take effect because they deal with us within our perspective of an immortal being. They don't deal with us within the perspective of right now, what we want. They deal with our eternal existence, not our short-term physical existence. While God and Spirit cares about that, they take the bigger view of what's going to happen through the length of your eternal existence. The personality survives intact in a living and conscious form immediately upon the change called death. What spiritualists believe is that you do change when you pass over to the other side, but you're still basically the same as you were when you were here. You don't suddenly sprout wings or suddenly lay in the ground and be silent until the second coming. We believe that you immediately transcend the grave. And this is proven, is demonstrated, not proven. You can't prove anything to people. All you do is demonstrate it to people through mediumship, where we bring back deceased relatives, loved ones, friends, in pretty specific form, in a fashion where we would not have known that without knowing them. This demonstrates the continuity of life after death. The personality it still drives us with consequences and benefits to our decisions on the other side of life. We still still have a challenge to move on. We don't go sit somewhere and play a harp and decide that we're not going to have to do anything anymore. Our life still continues to progress on the other side of life. Unfortunately for us, in some fashion, we still have to work. There's no time out. There's no, you still have to make decisions, and you still have to take responsibility for those decisions. It's an unending principle. The difference is that you're not struck by so many of the immediacies that you are here. You're not hungry. You're very rarely afraid, but there are still consequences and benefits to your decisions. Our concepts are demonstrated and not required to be accepted on faith. The phenomenon of mediumship demonstrates the continuity of life. The phenomenon of healing that's demonstrated demonstrates a higher intelligence than what greater than us that has dominion over this realm, i.e. God, and acts in a benevolent fashion towards us. Spiritualists believe that the spirit realm is all goodness and hope. We don't believe in evil spirits. That doesn't mean that there aren't people that aren't uneducated in that realm that can't create some ill will towards us. But we do believe that God and the dominions of the spiritual realm, the angels, the higher-minded people, all act in a benevolent fashion towards us. If you're not an evil person, you're not going to attract evil spirits to you. You attract what you believe. And just temporarily being off base doesn't make you an evil person. It just means that you're being a human being. We believe that part of personal responsibility, again, going back to that we don't let, the biggest thing that people have a hard time with is that we don't believe in the devil. We don't believe in an organizing spirit on the other side of life projecting evil and malice towards the human race. People got that in pretty good tow without any help most of the time. So we don't believe that there's a spirit over there. The governing spirit on the other side of life, God, acts in a benevolent fashion towards us. And this is proven through healing, changing a cellular structure, curing of illnesses that cannot be cured by the sciences of today. Medical science has come a long way, but they still can't change cellular structure. They still can't disperse tumors that they have determined to be terminal. And I've seen all of that happen with spiritual healing. The other odd thing about spiritualism is that originally it was not developed as a religion. It was developed by a society of free thinkers. It was developed by scientists and psychologists and promoted by natural practitioners. There were people that were practicing mediumship and healing long before spiritualism organized itself. And the reason that it had to be organized is because when people began to demonstrate, they were, in the UK, they had the Witchcraft Act until 1965. And people were jailed or worse for practicing this kind of belief system. In the United States, they just had justice where they caught them at. So they had to organize themselves into a religion, which was why the 9 principles that sometimes you hear read were developed. They had to embrace the Bible because even today, a religion that forms itself has to embrace an unholy book at a time. You can't write your own holy book and form a religion around it. The federal government won't recognize you unless it's a recognized holy book that's already in existence. So spiritualists embrace the Bible because most of the early organizers of the religious aspect were what they call breakaway Methodists. And Methodists tend to be, they have the phenomenon of the Holy Ghost in their faith. They believe very strongly in the manifestation on earth of the Holy Ghost. The stigmatas, the speaking in tongues, and those types of things. So it wasn't that big of a leap to move to believe in other spirits on the other side of life through demonstration and natural trance. So it's been quite an interesting walk. Briefly stated, the objectives of spiritualism: practice and teach the truths and principles expressed in the Declaration of Principles, which is the 9 principles I just spoke about, and in the definition of spiritualism, a spiritualist, a medium, and a healer. Demonstrate the truths of the science, philosophy, and religion of modern spiritualism. Promote and support lectures on all subjects pertaining to spiritual and secular welfare of mankind. And notice it says all, to the welfare, all lectures and subjects, not just those that spiritualism embraces. Ensure personal religious freedom and stand against every attempt to compel mankind to worship in God in any particular or prescribed manner. Demonstrate and practice the gifts of mediumship and healing. To protect and encourage spiritual teachers and mediums in all laudable efforts of demonstration of the truths of healing and continued communication between the spiritual realm and ours. To encourage every person in holding present beliefs always open to restatement as growing thought and investigation reveal understanding of new truths, thereby leaving every individual free to follow the dictates of reason and their conscience in spiritual as well as secular affairs. I've embraced spiritualism and it's significantly changed my life. Most of my family are Catholics or agnostics. But they all came to see me get ordained in Casadega, which was nice. My mother, who's a devout Catholic, said, well, I don't believe in that. I do believe in what it's done for my son, because it straightened me out where nothing else did. I was a pure hellraiser and hedonist for many years, and when I stepped into this, I can't go back to the other way of life. I can see the other way of life, and it's truth. This is what spiritualism has allowed me, is to see my life in truth. Not without justification, not reasoning why I did those things, and not feeling that I can't change or that I've done too many bad things to be worthy of a spiritual life. It's allowed me to find worth in my spiritual life. It's allowed me to forgive myself for past transgressions, and it's allowed me to be responsible for my actions. Because regardless of what you've done or what you've said, if you accept responsibility for it, you find the freedom to move beyond it. If you're always trying to justify what went on, you never get by it. It's always with you. The mistake is always with you, and you're always bound by it in the past. The other thing that part of personal responsibility gives you is the ability to discern what is your part and what is not. Too many times when we decide that something's our fault, we take it all on, not what's our part and what's not our part. You have to leave other people's part to them and move beyond it and let them deal with their part of it. Make amends as best as you can, and whether they accept it or not is not an indication of you having done your spiritual duty. As you do your spiritual duty, you feel freedom. You feel a freeing from that situation, even if that person is not willing to accept what your apologies, your attempt at reparation. It's not required for them to accept that, and that's one of the biggest things that I learned. So I ask you to think about these things and take some of them, take all of them. I'll send out this written document that I've been using on the email for the church. It goes out for anybody that's interested. But once again, we are an open spiritual church here. You're not required to take any of this. I just offer this as how I've managed to change my life. Thank you for listening.